to Ride Along Live. We are awaiting the start of the press conference called by the leader of the opposition, and it's just about to start. Let's go live right now to Grenada for the opposition leader press conference.
And let me say today, good morning again, and Happy New Year to all of the media personnel and all of the viewers and listeners. It is my hope and wish that throughout 2021 we'll be safe and we will take the responsibility of being our brother's keeper, so that we have to be mindful of where we are. So thank you again, and God bless you, and I hope that you have a safe and prosperous New Year. Brothers and sisters, I believe it is almost overdue that I address you here today on urgent matters facing our country. We do have a few issues that we have to talk about. First, let me at this point in time express my deepest appreciation for all the support that I have gotten in 2020 from home and abroad, to my brothers and sisters in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and in the diaspora, and to all citizens who are concerned about the development in Grenada, especially where democracy, the rule of law, and the rule that governs institutions are concerned. Let me at this point in time to express my deepest sense of gratitude to the people who are in the front lines of the fight against the coronavirus pandemic or disease. The frontline workers, the doctors, the nurses, the contact tracers, the police services, and everybody who work, especially the essential workers. We must be grateful for the efforts they have put into this fight. And I do believe I will continue to urge all our citizens, regardless of who you are, that it is upon you and the buck stops with you in terms of what happens to you, whether you contract the virus or not. And we are still in the mode of pandemic in Grenada and in the world. 2021 in some quarters look probably as much bleak as it is 2020. But again, we have it in our hands to take care of ourselves and our family, our neighbors, and our friends. I do believe in this dispensation, we must be our brother's keeper, so that we can overcome this virus. We will talk a lot about what is in transition for our country in terms of the fight for or to overcome COVID-19. Now, brothers and sisters, you have looked over the last couple of weeks about the state of our economy, and we saw that we say that we expected almost the economy to drop to negative 12 points, thereabout. And what is the outlook for 2021? I know they said that they would have a growth of 6%, but like I said, did we put forward a COVID budget for 2021? The budget, as you can see, and you might have analyzed it, it's almost business as usual, as if COVID-19 never happened and is not happening today. But again, we are faced with the reality of difficult times ahead. And so we have to look to take care of ourselves and our brothers, and even in terms of the economy, the uncertainty that is there now, I do believe leadership is required to change the course in which we are going. Now, you might have heard that I spoke about the frontline workers, the doctors and the nurses. And my sympathies also goes out to the family who lost the husband, the father, the friend, a past worker, a Grenadian citizen, the first person passing from COVID-19, and the verdict on his passing is still out. But I do believe that the clarion call is made by the frontline workers. It must be given necessary equipment and support by the government. Unfortunately, I am.
Guys, you're watching a live press conference facilitated by the opposition leader there in Grenada. They are doing this through Zoom and currently having a bit of an audio challenge. So we'll continue to monitor. At this particular point, there's no audio on the broadcast, as we could hear. We're waiting as soon as the technical staff there in Grenada resolve that issue, you'll be able to hear. But the reason why you're not hearing the opposition leader at this point in time is because of the technical challenges that they're having right now pulling through the broadcast. We were called early this morning on joining in this conversation. We was not told exactly what was the message or the projected message for tonight for today's press conference. It was not promoted. We didn't get any prior information as to what would be said or what to expect on this broadcast here today. So we was called in just about 20 minutes ago and asked to join. And that's exactly what we did to bring the information to the people. And we are here right now. We've seen your comments, and I know that you cannot hear the opposition leader. Just broadcast here today. Yeah, I was unmuted. Right. We're still waiting on audio to come in, and as soon as that audio comes in, we're going to bring it to you live. They're having audio challenges there in Grenada, bringing in the opposition leader, and we are waiting until that issue is resolved. At the same time, we urge everyone to go ahead and share the program. Yeah, guys. They're having a bit of a Zoom challenge right now. Because we're unable to hear any audio at the moment. And we're still not sure as to the message for today's broadcast because we were not given any prior knowledge as to what was the context of today's message by the opposition leader. And we await the technical team in Grenada to fix the audio problem.
Remain silent on the issue. But before you speak, you must get the facts.
All right, let's go back in and check out. They seem to have fixed the problem.
Really want. Now, in terms of the repurchasing of Greenland or the shares from WRB by the government, now where are we in terms of Greenland? It is a point that I have been following now since I was a youth up until now. And I can remember the debate of 1994 when Greenland was up for sale. Now, there was a sale agreement signed in 1994 by the then government, NEC government. It was not agreed on by not all of the members, but I do believe that the sale of Greenland was one that brought the now government NEC into fore. Because when the sale of Greenland took place, or the agreement took place in 1994, I can remember that the leader of the opposition then, Dr. Mitchell, he was vehemently against the sale of Greenland under the terms and conditions. And it is from there that I learned some of the terms and conditions under which it was sold. And I think a lot of Grenadians, even some of the ruling party at the time, did not agree with the condition of sale. And I too must state that the condition of sale at the time, or the terms and conditions, was not one that was agreeable to the people of Grenada, Carriacou City. Because look today what we have. And I can tell you that many of you may not remember, but I remember after the election of 1995, the debate on the sale of Grenada continued. And I remember for a while that I was part of the debate in the Senate in your house in 1995 when that sale agreement came through Parliament. And at the time, probably as a youth, I learned a lot, I listened a lot, and it always dawned on me, how is it possible for us in a country to almost tell what is can be considered as national security?
Again, guys, bear with us. The audio that's coming in is some sort of audio problem, Zoom challenge that the team there is having in Grenada. At present, we are listening and awaiting for a better audio feed. In fact, that's what everyone is getting. So it's not our platform, it's not our network. It is just an audio challenge that they continue to have there as we monitor this impromptu Zoom meeting that was called earlier this morning. Again, guys, I guess all we could do is sit and wait. The opposition leader started to talk a bit about the Grenlec deal. So I'm thinking that that might be one of the major points that he's looking to make. Also to speak about the COVID-19 first person who passed away of COVID-19. He didn't speak on this prior, and probably using this opportunity to put his voice on the record as it relates to those issues. Again, guys, we are here broadcasting live.
Which state almost at any time Grenlec feel if they are harmed or if there is some catastrophe?
Yeah, pardon the buzz and the audio, guys. We are pulling the feed, and that's how it sounds. Let's try to see if we could hear a little bit better.
You're not hearing? Guys, can you hear me?
All right, guys. Again, we continue to monitor this right here, an impromptu press conference called by the leader of the opposition. Earlier this morning, we got the invite and a request to broadcast this message, but obviously they are having a bit of a challenge in getting the audio consistent. And also with the Zoom, people are coming in and people are unmuting, and you're hearing. And I know that you guys was hearing the baby talking in the background.
Sorry for the interruption. Sometimes we always have little interruptions here. But yes, let me continue.
All right, let's go back in.
Now, what do we have? The government moved to repurchase the shares from WRB that were held by Grenlec, 62%. And to me, this was done in a secret, private deal. But I do ask the question, when Grenlec, the shares were sold to WRB in 1994 or 1995, when that agreement was made, it was debated in Parliament publicly. And I remember, and I think I always say it was the sale of Grenlec that made WHL, because there was election in 1995, which NNP won. The election that I took part in, was probably at the time the youngest member of Parliament taking part in an election, which we won, and the debate continued. I do believe I can remember when they went and tried to nullify the.
All right, guys. I'm speaking with the a member of the technical staff there as it relates to this press conference. They're having some major technical challenge. And as we know with Zoom, there are some features that you have to enable or disable so people don't keep unmuting themselves because this would continue. This would continue. People would come on and unmute themselves and you hear baby in the background and they're not willfully doing it, but they just don't know that they're on mute because they come in. So it's important that that Zoom is managed because I'm hearing a baby in the background. I'm hearing a baby in the background over the opposition leader as he speak, and that's just, I mean, call it what it is. It's poor Zoom management.
For evaluating Greenland. Now, I asked the question, two, how is it that the government announced that they paid either 60 something or 70 something $1 million from Greenland? But when I went back and I listened to the press conference by the Minister of Finance, and he said that they used spent capital funds from 2020 budget. Now, I went back to the budget document for 2020, and to me, the numbers just cannot add up. And if the numbers cannot add up, then the, the Minister of Finance must tell us where he got that money from. So if I turn to the 2020 budget document that I have here with me, in 2020, the budget document stated that as budgeted for capital project in 2020, it was $225.3 million. That was 2020 budgeted document. It is right here, $225.3 million. Now, you have to ask yourself the important question. Capital projects are budgeted for, and we get our monies from grants and from loans and from other sources. But if, for instance, the biggest part of our capital budget funded is from loans, how do you get the money when a project, do the funding agency give you all the money and you have it sitting in an account? No, it does not happen that way. You pay as you go, and everybody knows you pay as you go. So if a capital project is not done, you do not have a lump sum of money sitting in an account waiting to be spent. Moreover, when I look at the 2021 document and I look at what was given in terms of capital expenditure, it says here the approved estimate for the capital expenditure for 2020 was 225.3 million. Now the actual provisional was 122.1. It means therefore it leaves a difference here of $102.2 million. If indeed that they had savings from the 2020 budget, they only had a savings of $102.2 million, which means that the shortfall is about $70 to $80 million. Now, this did not come from the capital project budget because it is not there. So if you only save from the capital budget 102.2 million, we know definitely that 60 million or 63 or 70 something million is not 102.2 million easy. So if we have a shortfall of at least $70 million, then the question is, tell us where you get it from, because it is not there. It is my guess the only other place that government can get monies within the budget framework to finance the purchase of Grenlec is from monies that were held from the sale of passport that is under the National Transformation Fund. And still, If such monies have to be spent, why is it that these things happen and not even it came to the finance committee meet? It did not come through the finance committee. And if it comes to the finance committee, then the report of the finance committee must be tabled in parliament so that it can be debated. But none of this ever happened. Moreover, you can ask yourself the question, what did we purchase? What did we purchase in terms of the majority shares in Grenlec? Where are we at? So yes, let's talk in terms of funding. Estimated purchase of Grenlec would be around $180 million, EC. Then we also purchased Grenlec's debt. We heard that in fancy term, the Minister of Finance said that Grenlec took a loan to pay of $57 million to pay dividend. But it just went by just like that. But that loan must be paid back, and it is being paid back right now. How much of that money is remaining to be paid today? It means on top of what the monies that we use to purchase Grenlec, the debt of Grenlec is about $40 million. Today, Grenlec is paying back the bank $330,000 a month on that loan. So we not only purchase Grenlec, but we purchase the debt of Grenlec. Then the other questions that we have, let's rack up the numbers there now. So we have a $40 million loan paying back. We paid $180 million for the company. And then the question is asked, the legal fees for the buyback and for court fees and everything amount to 30-something million dollars. So we almost up to $250-something million. Moreover, we know now that the engines of Grenlec, what keeps the company going, is at the end stage of their lives, and they could crank out on us anytime. So it means, therefore, the government now would have to purchase new engines. It was stated by the Minister of Finance. Let us not forget that. If government has to go now to purchase 2 or 3 engines, that is a few $1 million again. And we were not paying attention. If we go around Grenada and we move around the country and we drive around Grenada today, we would see a lot of the telephone poles are marked orange. At this point in time, maybe 65 to 70% of the poles are slated to be changed out. That is an additional cost. Above all, when we get right down to it, this purchase here would probably cost the government almost around $300 million to be paid back, maybe not by the government now, but by our children and grandchildren in the future. In my mind, it was a bad sale in 1994, and today I think it's a bad buyback. And what happened that triggered the repurchasing of Grenlec? I would have think that the Grenada government and Grenlec would have gotten into a relationship where they could develop energy, or the energy sector in Grenada, in terms of producing and transmitting of electricity at a cheaper rate to the Grenadian people. Was that ever given to the government of Grenada? Yes, it was given. On many occasions, they could have partnered with the government, or the government could have partnered with Grenlec, but they refused to. A few years ago, I do believe that the shares were offered to be bought by government at $8.27, I think, and the government wanted to give $5.49. And my question is, if we're negotiating, why didn't we meet in the middle? If government had purchased the shares from Grenlec at the time for $8.20-something that they were asking for, the purchase would not have come up to $60 million. And so one has to ask yourself the question, how did we get there? I mean, if you have to go down that road, I know there were many people within Grenada who were advising the government, just leave it alone as it is right now, because what are you going to purchase? I do believe we just paid for the name of the company. And paying for the name of the company, is it worth it? How many years will it take to pay back or to break even after spending that kind of money? You know, I have been in consultation too with council, and I do believe in the near future, probably today or tomorrow, the leader of the opposition, on behalf of on behalf of the people of Grenada, will be filing a lawsuit against the government of Grenada vis-a-vis the repurchasing of Grenlec. And what we are asking for and looking for is for full disclosures in terms of what really happened, or what is it that we have. And some of the trappings of this whole buyback in terms of government action is illegal. Think about it. We as a people, we voted our government into office. So my question is now, do they become our masters or do they become our servants? If they are our masters or if they are our servants, then my question is, how is it that the servants are not telling, or the masters, the servants are not telling the people what is going on with the asset, but they take it on their own? And I find it very disrespectful that anytime it comes to energy and energy development in this country, there is a hush hush and a secrecy behind it. I mean, when it was oil and gas, you signed a secret deal with Trinidad and Tobago. And if we did not see it in the newspaper of Trinidad and Tobago, we would have never known that it happened. You sit down and you negotiate with Grenlec for the people's asset on a secret deal. And then you're still saying Grenlec was breaking the deal and talking out, and you would not talk out. But remember, who would be affected? We won't be around here long enough to see the outcome of Grenlec. But like I said before, it's our children and our grandchildren. And that is what we have to stand up for as a country, to safeguard the assets of our children. Because those who are making the deal with Grenlec are people who are actually benefiting from the assets of our children. Too.
Yeah, could you
I
hear
have
me? Oh,
questions.
sorry.
Can I go ahead?
So we will take some questions now for Honorable Tobias Clement. One questions. Try to get a round of questions so everyone can get a time. So we will start now, and everyone give one question now, so that we give enough time to everyone to be able to ask a question to Honorable. Because we have limited time this morning.
Can I go ahead? Hello? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I guess you could go ahead.
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Rena Pierre, GBN. I wanted to know, Honorable Clement, What is the grounds of the lawsuit that you would be filing, and has it already been filed, or how soon would it be filed?
Well, it is been worked on as we speak. I think after I leave here, I would go and we will finalize the details of it. But what we're asking for a full disclosure. Also, we do believe that in terms of financing, in terms of allocation and transfer of funds from a government, that we're talking about the government of Grenada, and you're talking about the transfer of almost $200 million, and you are telling me that it did not come through finance committee, it did not come through parliament. And so I do believe we have a government operating with a certain level of disrespect for the leader of the opposition and for the country at large. And so they feel that they can just do as they feel, as they please, anytime they want. I mean, when you're talking about the kind of monies that were spent in terms of the repurchase clause there now, that is not chump change you're talking about. That is major. That is, I mean, if you look at $300 million thereabout, that is quarter of the budget for 2021, and yet it did not come under any budgetary allocation. It was not discussed in the finance committee meeting. Something is wrong with that. And at this point in time, like I said, I am in consultations with council, and we will finalize it a little later on in the day. Probably I will put out a statement about the content of that lawsuit. Thank you.
Junior George, right along live. I have two quick questions here. Minister Bowen spoke about load shedding in the last press conference. Have there been any load shedding in previous days? And also, have the issue or question the allocation of funds discussed in Parliament that you are aware of currently? Thank you.
Okay. If I may, yes, the Minister of Finance did talk about load shedding, but then the question is, why did he in the press conference talk about load shedding? We have not yet had load shedding in Grenada, but I do believe it can happen anytime, because what I do understand is that after years of operation, the engines that are operating by Grenlec is at the end stages of their lives. So the engines are due to be replaced. And if the engines are due to replace, then they are worth nothing. And so I do believe a few $1 million will have to be spent in order to purchase new engines for the company. And I will say this here. We purchased the company, and yet Grenlec continued to operate as normal. In his press conference, the Minister of Finance said that they're going to ask the World Bank or the IMF to help them to find a management company. Now, you have to ask the burning question. Are we as a people, are we suffering from some form of inadequacy in management? Think about it. Grenlec have been managed since 1991, or run, I shouldn't say run by Grenadians in all aspects except the manager. The manager now, or before the sale, was a Jamaican. One before that was another Jamaican, and we have had foreign. But the managers are not the ones who run the company. I mean, if you have to hire a management company now to run Grenlec, I ask the question, at what cost? A management company coming from foreign now to run the company would cost in the millions. So that is again additional cost on the back of what it's almost like we're peddling back and making what bad matters worse. To boldly state that we will ask for a management company to manage Grenlec when Grenlec was run adequately by Grenadians here at home. These are some of the questions and statements that are baffling. Thank you. He had another follow-up, I think.
Yeah, the other question that I had is relating to the issue, the question of the issuance of the funds. Was it something that was debated or discussed in Parliament?
But the thing about it, when I studied the 2021 budget, even the 2020 budget, nothing about the repurchase of Grenlec was there. But I do believe we saw that coming, because when government in 2015, I do believe, passed that law that deregulated the electricity company, I think that triggered the buyback clause. Now, when you look at it, the question can be asked, if there is a clause to buy back Grenlec, do you think the majority shareholders in Grenlec will now take the monies that are earned by Grenlec and invest back into the company? And people in Grenada describing it like this: you sold a car to someone, the person was running the car, but then you triggered that you want to buy back the car. Would I invest in the car before I sell it back to you for almost the same price, or quadruple the price that is there? And what is really in the buyback clause? Now, the clause stated that Grenlec WRB had the majority share as a majority shareholder. The agreement was signed from 1994, I think, to 2070, for 70 something years. And so now that buyback clause is triggered, it means therefore they have 50 something years remaining on the agreement. So what the government is paying them for, the formula that was agreed upon, or that they were awarded in the court, is that you have to pay them for the remaining 50 years as if they have lost earnings for the operation of the company for the next 50 years when they should have had it. So, and this was part of the agreement. I remember in 1994, and I'm young then, and I'm listening to Finsley St. Louis, and he was part and parcel of the government then. And I remember him, and maybe I will talk to him again. He was not in agreement with the sale of Grenlec under the terms and conditions. And so the terms and condition of the sale in 1994 indeed was like a millstone around the people of Grenada's neck. And so now the buyback clause is part of the agreement that was signed in 1994. But I think government had an opportunity to buy the shares from Grenlec at a rate that would not have cost us today as it costing us. And they just let that go. They just let that go. And so now we are at this point. So, next question, please.
Good morning. This is Linda Stricker. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. To start, I have 3 questions. In 2016, I remember sitting in the parliament and listening to the debate, and you were one of the parliamentarians who supported the piece of legislation that liberalized the electricity sector in Grenada, and it is that piece of legislation that triggered Grenlec's action. In hindsight, do you regret supporting that legislation now? Second question, have you read or acquaint yourself with the tribunal document or the tribunal judgment? And are you aware what would have happened if government did not finalize a deal with WRB on or before December 29th?
And your third question?
Well, that's 3 of them.
Okay. Yes. And let me tell you, Ms. Straker, I was not only part of the debate in 2016, but at the beginning of Parliament in 95, after NNP came into office, there was continued debate there. And the thing about it, we, at the time, Dr. Mitchell too, and Brother Boyne was in the Senate with me in 1995. Dr. Mitchell was the Prime Minister, and he did not agree with the terms and condition of the sale. I mean, if any Grenadian today in the right mind read the terms and condition of the sale, you would wonder what it is they were thinking about. But the question that that you asked in terms of 2016, yes, I was part and parcel of the debate, and I made the same point that I'm making today. If you go back and you read in terms of my statement and in terms of the antitrust law, here we give an American company monopoly to operate in the energy sector in Grenada. But yet, if you go in the United States, that same company can never hold a monopoly to operate an energy sector in the United States. And they know that. And this came under the Sherman antitrust law of the United States. That is why I said that the United States government moved at the time to break up Standard Oil, and you have all the oil company today. You know, the United States government moved to break up Microsoft and Google, and they moving to break up Facebook, as long as monopoly is there. But we here in Grenada, monopoly is, to me, I don't understand why we would give. And that was the point I was arguing. Now, between those times, between 2013 and 2016, and even thereafter, I think government had an opportunity to partner with Grenlec in terms of bringing cheaper renewable energy to Grenada. You would remember at one time, Grenlec had identified some lands to put solar and wind and so forth, and government will not partner with them. You would remember at one time that the same Grenlec 2 or WRB offered the shares to sell without triggering that sale purchase agreement. But in negotiation, $8 plus per share versus government $5 plus per share, no negotiations to fall in the middle. This is what we do. We should fall in the middle. So Grenlec says one, government says no negotiation. We go into the law. And to me, that then would have been a disappointment. Now, you can always say 2020 is hindsight. But in 2017, Grenlec moved to take a loan from the bank, $57 million, to pay out dividend. So that heap on top of it. So, and I could not understand how a company that operates in Grenada or operate anywhere take a loan to pay back dividend. And when you buy the company now, you also buy the loan. And we just don't say they take a loan to pay dividend. Now they're owing, that is remaining on the loan, $40+ million to pay back at $333,000 a month. And besides that, now the government now will have to inject a lot of money into Grenlec, as we say, to buy engine and to keep it running, and maybe to also to hire a management company from outside of Grenada. I mean, it's just like cost mounting upon cost mounting upon cost. Next.
I'm sorry, but I didn't get the answer to any of the questions I asked. I asked one, if you had acquaint yourself with the tribunal document for the judgment. Yes. So I asked that. And then I asked if you were aware what would be the penalties if there was not a deal by December 29th.
That is the second question. I am aware of that action. I read some of it. I cannot say that I read all of it. But yes, I am aware of that action. And how did we get there? It's because we put ourselves in it. And like I say, and this is what it is. Remember, this deal did not just happen today. And people, I think a few people, even within the media, called to find out what am I going to say on it. And I said, when I have enough facts, I will speak to Grenlec issues. today there are still some questions that I will not be able to answer on Grenlec because I have not had all the facts, because some of the facts still remain hidden. And the tribunal document, the sale document, and I am revisiting some of them. I have asked for the Hansard information for the debate surrounding what you're asking for, and I am in the process of I have some of them, and I'm in the process of getting some of them, Ms. Straker. Thank you. Next, anybody else?
If nobody else have any questions, Honorable Tobias, I just wanted, within the time you was doing some of your opening statements, there was a lot of audio disturbance within. I just wanted you to just clarify some stuff you said regarding the budget of 2020 and 21. You were talking about, you were explaining thoroughly about the $225.3 million in capital projects and the issue of 102.2 million. Could you explain a
Yes.
little bit for me? Because it was kind of puzzling because the audio was distracting and I couldn't get everything together.
Okay, as I look here on the books, the actual approved estimate for 2020 budget capital side was $225.3 million. Well, because COVID and we had our lockdown, that monies could not have been spent. But the actual provisional by December 31st, 2020, we would have spent $122.1 million. So if you look at the difference here, the difference would be $102.2 million. And so if the government said that it had savings from capital project to buy Grenlec, they would have had from the capital side of the budget only $102.2 million. This is not equivalent to the 60 something or 70 something million, 63 million US dollars in a ballpark is around 170 million EC. If it goes up to 70, we are looking at, because we cannot get the exact figures yet. You hear different figures from. So I'm looking, if indeed Grenlec costs $180 million, then the monies could not come from savings from capital projects. And as I said, if you look at how capital projects are done, the monies are not sitting in an account waiting to be used. When financial institution gives you a loan, they let you draw down. Even sometimes on grants to do certain things, they let you draw down on it. So we did not have $225.3 million sitting in government account. Government had to go and find those monies. Did they find those monies? No, they did not find the money, so that you cannot say, well, the actual provisional is 122.1. So which, if you did save at all, it would have been 102.2, but that was not enough. So the question is, where did they get the rest of money from to buy or to purchase Grenlec? And I say, well, after, and people say maybe from some foreign entity. I cannot go down that road because I do not have the facts. The only thing that I can say that government probably scrape up monies from is from the monies from the sale of passport. That is the program Citizen by Investment, what is called the National Transformation Fund. And so this is what that is the only place that they can find. But government needs to tell the people where they got the monies from in terms of to purchase Grenlec, because what is the secrecy? Like the lady said, the agreement from the tribunal, government they did not have a choice but to buy back Grenlec. Otherwise, probably they would have to pay maybe a few $1 million a month or whatever it is. But then where did they get the government budgeting and funding? Just do not happen in a shell. It has to be seen. There is no transparency there. All of a sudden, it was almost shocking when they come and reveal that, well, if WRB did not send out the correspondent, Grenadian would have never known that the purchase took place. And then to hear the minister talk about where they got the money from, and to me, we need clarity in it because the figures are not there. And that is what it is with figures. In the final analysis, where transparency is brought to bear, we will know where the money comes from. Whether it happened this today or it happened sometime in the future, finally we will know where the money comes from. And so that is what I was explaining, that where they said that they got the monies, I could not see it there because there is a shortfall there of over $70 million. So thank you for your question.
I have one quick.
I have some clarity with Mr. Clement. My clarity has to do with the lawsuit. And the reason why I needed clarity is because earlier on there were quite a bit of disturbance and we weren't able to hear your audio quite clear. So can you just clarify the reason behind the lawsuit, as well as why is a lawsuit being filed instead of taking the option of submitting parliamentary questions?
Well, all this will be done because I'm of the opinion now that that it has, what I'm trying to do, Ms. Straker, is to bring transparency and to bring legitimacy to the process. Now, Parliament is going to be meeting on Tuesday, almost in an emergency. I think I got informed of that yesterday, but I have not yet received the document or the documentation in terms of bills or in terms of whatever it is. And what I will tell you is that I am suspecting that the government is going to come to Parliament with the WRB matter as to bring some legitimacy to the process. It is like putting the cart before the horse. What should have been done first is maybe what they're trying to catch up and do now. And so this is why I was saying, and Ms. Straker, you will be out with me, and I will get back with you on later because I have to meet with council and finalize where we're going with it. And because I did call council and I did seek counsel, and I think the law fraternity in Grenada, they were amazed by the trappings of government in terms of the directions in which they went with this whole thing without any legal teeth of parliamentary procedure. And if the decision was made in cabinet decision is not parliamentary decision. Cabinet cannot make those financial decisions on behalf of government without coming through parliament. I think we know the rules and regulations very well. So, Mr. George, I think you have a question. So, Ms. Straker, if you give me a little time today, I will get with you in terms of what is finalized on the lawsuit.
Thanks again.
Yes, Mr. George.
Yeah, thanks again.
Yes.
We are still broadcasting live over here on Ride Along, and we did entertain a few calls. We have one caller on the line that says that they have a question for you. Caller, go right ahead.
Morning to you, Mr. Tobias, and good morning to all fellow Grenadians. My name is Dennis Charles.
Mr. George, I'm not hearing the caller.
All right, stand by. Let me try to pull the caller in. You should be hearing the caller, however. Yeah, you should be. You're not hearing the caller at all?
Yeah, can you hear me?
All right. Go ahead, guys. I'll work it on my end to fix that audio problem. So go right ahead.
Well, we almost at the end.
Okay. I'm not sure why I'm having the audio problem. I'm hearing him fine over on our broadcast. So I'm not sure why it's not coming through on your end.
I am hearing you loud and clear, but not the caller. So
yeah. All right. Well, next time, if you cannot hear me, next time, just good luck to you. If you don't mind,
I have a quick question I want to ask.
All right, go ahead, guys. I'll fix that on my end. Go right ahead. Thanks again.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, I have a quick question I want to ask. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I wanted to find out, is it possible, you able to tell us what percentage of shares and stuff like that that the government currently owns in the company? Because it's kind of
Well,
confusing when we
in
hear
terms of
different things coming from different sides, and we're not too sure. And I know you may not know how much they intend to sell, to the Grenadian public or people in the diaspora at this time, but I'm not sure that I know the percentage that government currently owns. Do you happen to tell us?
From the press conference that the Minister of Finance had, I think the current amount of shares that government bought back from WRB in totality should be about 62%. So that is what they bought back from WRB. Government itself, the number of shares that government have is just maybe a small portion, 1 or 2%. So government now could probably own in the mid 60s, 63, 64% of the shares in Grenlec. And other entities and private citizens in Grenada do have some shares. But again, like we say, so that is the information that I have now in terms of the number of shares. They purchased, I think WRB had 51% plus 11% held by some other companies in another Caribbean country or Honduras or Belize somewhere. So it came up to about 62%.
You see, what happened, we are really guessing at this time, and it's important for us to know if the government would bring this information to the people of Grenada, because, I mean, it's our business, and that is very concerning me.
I do agree with you with that. It is the people's business in terms of, and this is why I said from the beginning, every time it comes to the energy sector in Grenada, it is like a secret. I just don't understand it. And it is the people's business. Thank you, Mr. Mills.
Thank you very much. Okay.
So, guys, thank you very much, and I do appreciate your time, and I hope that we can bring some more clarity. And again, I will call on the media, which is the fourth estate of government, that you have a role to play in terms of bringing the information to the Grenadian public as you see it. Because at this time, we're not curry favoring to anybody. What we're saying, just give us transparency in the process. And the media, you also have your research and your part to play, because you are the fourth estate of government. Thank you, and God bless you. And again, please stay safe for the remainder of the year, and let us see where we're going with COVID-19 and 2021. God bless you, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Guys, you're listening there, live press conference from Grenada, facilitated by the the opposition leader, Honorable Tobias Clement. During the broadcast, of course, we tried to bring in a call by Mr. Dennis Charles, but I don't know why the audio wasn't going through. But we got Dennis on the line right now. Dennis, you're listening?
Yes. Good morning, Mr. George. Good morning, Mr. Clement.
No. Clement can't hear you. They just wrapped up, so I just wanted you to post your question here. You're live on Ride Along. However, our audience is hearing you, but Clement is not hearing you. So just go ahead and post your question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I want to commend Mr. Clement so much for the courage to stand up for the Grenadian people.
Right.
We want to have transparency. There must be some sort of, accountability. Grenada is not some kind of dictatorship or federal empire where you have the prime minister answering to nobody, operating over the law. He doesn't account to us. The constitution is trampled. He does what he wants. We have a situation in St. Patrick's. If they had $200 million all these years, where people's houses are about to be washed away by this project all the trees and sand, and the sea level is pretty much higher than for pasture. You're talking about wiping out Davie, even all the way up to Petty Arms Hotel. And you had that money sitting there, and you would not put a dead wall and save the shoreline, the coastal areas from water erosion. And you had the funds. This is craziness. We have to have a government that answers to the will of the people. Come clean, show us where you pull that money from, and give us the date. If it is the passport money, let us know where you hide it, which bank you invested that money in. If it came from offshore, be clean. Level with the Grenadian people. Once and for all, we have a democracy, at least. You know? So that is what I wanted to say, Mr. Clement. Keep up the good job. You would have the distractors, some of them calling you to trap you. You don't have to give your strategy this morning. Speak to your attorney. But keep up the good fight. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Dennis. And we're going to keep the phone lines open again just for a few minutes to get your reaction on the press conference that was held earlier today. If you want to input on the topic, guys, you could call in right now, 718-701-5720. That's 718. Let me put a number up on the screen. If you want to react to what you just heard there from the opposition leader, you could call this number there on the screen. We're going to stay on for like about the next 5 minutes. That's the number, 718-701-5720, reacting to what was said earlier today by the opposition leader and the lawsuit that he mentioned. One of the takeaway that I think that we need to look a lot deeper into is Linda Stricker's question in regards to, you know, the opposition leader was a part of the NNP before he became the opposition leader, and he was there. He didn't quite answer the question when she asked, you know, as to he was part and parcel of that whole clique, that whole negotiation there. Why didn't he act sooner than he did now? And that is a question. You know, did he have a change of heart? Did he evolve in his ideas at present? That's something that we definitely need to look in a little bit closer. Is it because, you know, his role as opposition leader now, he needs to come out and speak out about it, but before he was part and parcel of the, or in agreement with the deal. So call us in, guys right now, 718-701-5720. If you don't have a caller, we're going to wrap it up. 718-701-5720, and we are live again, guys. This is a special programming. We're gonna calls, so we're gonna wrap it up. We'll catch you guys again at 6 p.m. today on Ride Along Live. Good day. Have a good day. This is the latest breaking news for the hour. Stay tuned for more news weekdays 8 p.m. and again at 4 p.m. daily. The news is a production of Ride Along Media. See you tomorrow.